Hey guys, what's up? I'm Sir Wade and welcome back to How to Become an Animator, but today I'm not talking about animation as much. I'm talking about freelance, and I'm not here because of freelance necessarily because I'm such a great freelancer. I'm here because my wife is awesome. She surprised me with a trip to Hawaii. So anyway, this will be the beautiful scenic backdrop of today's video where I share with you 5 things I wish I knew before I started freelancing about a year and a half ago. So it's just my opinions. This is not a how to do it. It's just stuff I have learned that I want to share with you. Let's get into tip number 1. Alright, the first thing that I wish I knew when I was getting into freelance was about how to get clients. I spent so much time, so many hours wasted on Upworthy and Freelancer and all those websites that were supposed to help me. And I don't know, none of them led to anything for what I do, which I should probably mention, by the way. The type of creative freelancing that I am kind of talking about here is animation, visual effects, video production, motion graphics, a little bit of social media marketing type stuff, and maybe graphic design. I think that's about everything I've been doing freelance-wise. But yeah, none of those websites really did much for me. I spent so much time writing proposals and doing all that, but nothing. All the best jobs that I came by were through people I already knew who needed some help with a music video or a short film or some other project they need another VFX person for, various things like that. Or if you don't know anybody, you should ask around the people you do know if they know anybody. Do they know any small business owners, anyone who might need a video, promotional stuff, if they know the owner or marketing person at a certain company you might want to work with, or if nothing else, just go to conventions. That's really the best way, because at conventions and networking opportunities like that, people are usually going there looking for something. So maybe you're the person that they're looking for. So go there, make sure you are present at these things with your card, with your portfolio, ready to show off what you can do so that they can find you and you can help them accomplish their goals. But it's almost all word of mouth for the best jobs. The second thing I wish I knew when I was first starting out is how much should I charge for stuff? What should you be paid for the work that you do? And that's really heavily dependent on a lot of things, but some tools that I've used to kind of figure that out for myself are, there's online calculators and things like that, but more importantly than those things, what do you need to live? Why do you get paid? It's so that you can take care of your bills, you can pay rent, you can eat, insurance, phone bill, all that kind of stuff needs to be factored in. So when you're trying to figure out how much something is worth, try to work backwards. Look at your entire monthly budget, and if you don't have one, you should make one. But figure out how much it really costs you to live your life. Figure out all your overhead costs, your rent, your bills, your phone bill, your insurance, all that kind of stuff, and go from there. Look at your bank statements and figure out realistically how much do you spend on food every month. It's probably more than you think. Factor in gas, factor in savings, factor in all the things that you normally do. Don't forget to add about 30% extra for taxes, and if you pay for Adobe subscriptions, if you're gonna use a commercial version of Maya, if you're using Cinema 4D, software costs money. And then figure out from there, okay, if you need that much a month to live, what is it if you were to do 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for that entire month? Do all the math, figure out what that hourly rate is, and then once you know what your hourly rate should be if you were working a regular job, you have to factor in and decide how much do you think this is actually going to take of your time to make this thing, to work on this project, and be realistic. If you need to charge more because it's going to take you longer, that's okay. But you need to be honest with yourself and figuring out what are the numbers that make sense to make sure that you're not saying yes to a whole bunch of stuff and at the end of the month not able to pay your bills. That's not a good thing. So this is a good way to make sure you're not being underpaid or undervalued for your work. This will also help you figure out a bare minimum. So if you're trying to go back and forth and haggle and someone says, well, we can't do it for this number, but we can do it for that, you'll know because your bare minimum to eat that month is a certain number and you say, well, I can't go under that. And it's okay to say no sometimes if something's just not gonna pay enough. You have to make sure you're taken care of. And on the other hand, you probably shouldn't be eating out every single night of your life, so find your balance. Question 3 is a sensitive topic. It's, should you work for free or for cheap? Now, when I was first starting out, I watched a lot of videos of people saying like, yeah, you should work for free, you should work for cheap, get your foot in the door, opportunity, and I'd get mad. I was like, why would you say that? Like, it's different for artists and animators, like, it's so much time, it's so much work. I was not with it. I did not agree at all. But then I spent some time working and doing stuff, and I think I realized what they meant by it, and the way that I think it should be explained to people doing this kind of creative work. And the answer is like, yeah, you should do work for free, but not all the time. Like, you shouldn't just go around working for free. Your time is valuable, your skills are valuable, and you need to make sure you're compensated fairly for what you're doing. You also don't want to mess with the industry pricing, and yeah, that's all there. However, think of it this way. There are people out there that you want to work with. There's people you admire, work you aspire to be like, all these different things, and there's opportunities to work with these people. But do you think they're gonna hire you right now? Maybe the answer is yes, and great, go get hired and do your work. But if the answer is no, and you're starting off, you're getting started, or you're not quite there yet, it's not just you're giving away your skills, it's that you are strategic about how you work for free and who you're working for in those moments to create opportunities so that in the future, they've seen your stuff, you've done stuff for them. Hey man, I love your stuff. I'd love to just make some stuff to help you out. And they're like, okay, sure. And then you make stuff and like, wow, this is really awesome. And then in the future, if they need a project done, they can come to you. They say, well, I know someone who can do that stuff. They've done some great stuff for me in the past. I trust them, I like them. Hey man, we have a paid project. Are you interested? There's definitely a balance. I don't want everyone to be mad at me for like, don't tell people to work for free. Like, it goes both ways. I definitely don't think people should be underpaid or undervalued for what they do. And I hate those like choosing beggars things where people are like, well, you know, if you'll do it for half, I'll let you do it for me. Like, no, don't take those jobs. If people aren't paying you what you're worth, say no. But there are times where you're going to want to step a little bit beyond where you might be ready professionally. And so doing stuff as practice, investing in yourself, and doing it for somebody to give them value sometimes leads to them taking a chance on you. Not always, don't always do it just for those reasons, but that's a good way to think about, should you work for free? Sometimes the answer is yes. And now I have a pretty crazy story for you. Alright, so I've had some pretty interesting experiences in my year and a half, pretty short time freelancing. I wanted to tell you about one of them, a really good teachable moment. Now I had the opportunity to work on a project. Someone pitched me the idea, said, hey, we'd like you to work on a commercial. It's, you know, it's a Marvel commercial, there's Iron Man, the Hulk, there's some cool stuff in there for you. And I said, that sounds amazing. Yeah, tell me more. So we talked about it and it seemed really cool. And because it was such a big deal, I thought, well, I could probably pitch a pretty high number for this. And so I did. I pitched a fairly large number for a more or less shortish time frame. And they said, yeah, we'll pay you for that and let's go ahead and move forward. And there were a lot of unanswered questions, which is kind of red flag number one. It was kind of vague. I didn't have all the details and they were ready to move forward. And I thought, well, I should probably get a lot more information before I like fully commit to this thing. And the project was to do about 3 weeks of animation, and I just thought, cool, I'm gonna be given like Iron Man rigs and like Hulk models, I'm gonna be messing with these, like that's gonna be great. I was super stoked about it. So that was one of my questions, and I was like, okay, so you know, when am I gonna be getting the models? What are the models? Were they rigged in Maya? Like, are they gonna be something I can animate in Maya? Do I have to download and learn another software? What do I need to know here? And red flag number 2 was, oh, well, we thought you'd handle the models. And I'm like, whoa, like, I'm not a modeler or a rigger. And surfacing like there's a short timeline. I'm just animating. Like, what do you mean you thought I'd handle it? Like, is there an email? Is there a contact I'm supposed to reach out to? What do you mean it's balls in my court here? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Just if you're not going to make them, then just, you know, buy some Iron Man rig off the internet and we'll just use that. That's red flag number 3. So when I asked, like, wait a minute, this isn't an officially licensed Marvel like promo? And they're like, well, no, this just those are the characters the client wants. I thought, okay, hold on. If I involve myself here and, you know, go buy or download or try to make some kind of an Iron Man thing, like whatever this is, if I'm trying to grab Marvel characters now owned by Disney and do a commercial project as a freelancer, like, I'm not gonna play with Mickey Mouse's lawyers. I don't think this is a good idea at all. And I know people in the industry, so it's not like this would be a secret. Now, to be honest with you, I probably could have done it. I could have just said, all right, let's just do this low key. I could go download a model. I could do the work. I could deliver it. And I could have gotten paid quite a bit of money. However, sometimes money isn't everything and integrity is more important. And it isn't just like your reputation. It's like, you need to sleep at night. You need to make sure you're doing stuff that you're proud of and you're happy with. And I knew in this moment, it's like, this is one of those tests in life, you know? And I just decided, like, you know what, this is not a real, like, Marvel thing. Like, I'd love to work on Marvel stuff in the future, but this isn't the way I want to do it. There could be legal ramifications, and I'm just not going to feel good about it. So I stepped out, backed down, whatever the word is. I said, no thank you, sorry, but I can't, something came up and I can't do it. And, you know, even though for the first, like, week or two, I was like, oh man, it would have been nice to have the money, I've never looked back on that decision, and I'm really, really glad that I chose to do that. Keep that in mind when you go into stuff like this and you're doing work for yourself, that sometimes you'll have cool opportunities, but you need to vet them first and make sure there's something that you feel is right, both for your safety and just for your career. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's go on to number 4. Number 4 is something that I wish I definitely had a whole guide on when I was just getting started, and that's all the logistics, the details, all the little things that you're not really sure you should ask about, you should ask about them. From contracts to invoices, file organization of like what's on your computer and how are you laying it out to make it easier for yourself. But more importantly, things like over communication, email, and just modes of contact. So for example, let me just get into some of it here. When you're talking to somebody, say you've got a gig, you're gonna go into it, you need to set out all the expectations up front. And this could even just be little stuff. If you're gonna work with a group of people and they've got stuff they're gonna send you and you're gonna do some stuff with that, how are they gonna send it to you? Is it Google Drive? Is it stuff uploaded to Slack? Is it Dropbox? Do you have another platform that you're gonna be using? Are you expected to create all the assets yourself? This kind of depends on like what type of work you're doing, but they're important questions to have answered. Along with that goes scheduling, timelines. It's one of the first things I always ask in every email. I'm like, cool, this sounds like a cool project. What's the budget if I feel like asking at that moment, but always what's the timeline, what's the schedule? What deliverables are expected from who's involved, what are the deadlines, like how long is the overall project, what parts am I involved in, is there planning, is there stuff after the fact? All that stuff is important. You're over-communicating at all times. It's always better to over-communicate and send more emails or something than under-communicate and no one knows what's going on with you. That's something I'm still working on, getting better at. I'm terrible with email. But it's important that if you have a phone call, you follow it up right after with a summary of what you talked about, what you got out of it, and making sure, am I on the right page? That way if something's not syncing up, you can hit it ahead of time and you don't find out after the fact, after the work's been done, and you're like, whoops, we didn't realize we weren't on the same page. You need to be documenting everything. And get a contract. Contracts are huge, even when you don't think you need one or you don't want to go and deal with it. If you don't get a contract and things go wrong, you have to just pretty much accept that you're not going to get paid or whatever the issue is. It can be bad. So even when you don't think you need one, get a contract, write everything down, write out the number of revisions you're going to do. If you deliver something and someone says, we want to make some changes, what kind of changes are allowed? How many times can you do that before you end up reworking everything all over again? Are you getting paid for the reworks? All that kind of stuff needs to be figured out, all those details and logistics, and put into documents or logged or whatever. You need to make sure that everyone understands up front what's going on with the thing you're about to do. And a bonus tip with that, over-deliver. You guys figure out what's expected, try to do more than that if you can, and you'll probably get invited back to do more work in the future if the work was good to begin with. Next location. Okay, so the next thing is what we're gonna call 4.5 because I thought of one more and I wanted to include it before we got to 5. So, the 4.5 thing that I not that I wish I knew it, but I think it's useful to mention is attitude. It's very easy when you're working on projects, especially stuff that you're not very interested in, stuff that you're like, well, it's a freelance job, I guess I'll do it. When someone asks you like, hey, can we do this thing? You might have many reasons why it's not a good idea, or no, we shouldn't do it, or like we could do it, but it would take blah, 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 blah to get it done. Your job is not to be the person to say no for them. Your job is the person to say, yeah, we could do that. But it's important to also let them know what that means. So be the person, have the good attitude who says, yeah, that can be done. You want to be willing to learn, you want to be a good attitude, a fun person to work with, but it is important to let them know too that if the answer is yes, we can do this, it's going to create some consequences down the road that I want to let you know ahead of time, or yes, we can do it, and it's going to require some investment up front to get it done. Whether that's time, whether that's money, it doesn't matter. The answer is yes, that it is your job to let them know so that they know what to expect, expectations. Okay, now on to number 5. All right, and finally number 5, let's sit down here. Number 5 is by far the most exciting. It's taxes, I know. Stick with me though. Hopefully it's not too windy, by the way. There's nothing better than getting to use the skills that you enjoy using to do work you love doing and making money from it. That's awesome. Whether it's your primary thing or it's your side hustle, either way, freelance is super cool. But there's nothing worse than having to give all that money to the government because of taxes. So definitely, 100%, I can't even recommend it enough, plan ahead. Either do the research yourself, do the math, or consult a tax professional in your area to figure out the rules and what you need to do to make sure you get to keep the majority of what you earn. A safe thing to do is anytime you make any money from any project, take like 32% of it, that's the number I go with anyway to be safe, take 32% and put it in another account in your bank. A lot of people don't know this, but freelancing has a lot of extra fees attached to it that you don't have with a normal job. Your employer usually takes care of a lot of stuff. It's automatic with most paychecks. So when you're self-employed, there's a lot of extra fees, like 15% of things tacked on to other things. It's crazy. So talk to somebody and make sure you're planning ahead for tax season. If you do it right, you can do your regular job, you can do your freelance, you can have a bonus of the extra money you've saved on top of your tax savings, but if you do it wrong, you have to give a lot of it back and you might even owe more money than you have. So those are some of the things that I wish I knew before I started freelancing. If you like this video, if you want to see more like it, check out my other channels. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. But I'm going to get back to enjoying instead of working. So I'll see you guys in next week's video. Bye.